Panelists, thank you very much. Ariel Whitman, thank you very much. You are, in fact, in Israel, the op-ed editor at Globe's newspaper, and he's also the host of the Western Spirit podcast. Thank you very much for your time. Difficult times. Burzin Wagmar is from the Center for Iranian Studies, joining us on the broadcast, the School of Oriental and African Studies. He's joining us live from London. Thank you very much. General Hasnan will be joining us in just a bit at about 11:30. And Matt Klink is a Republican strategist. He's joining us on the broadcast as well. He's joining us from America. Thank you all very much. I think I do need to come to Ariel Whitman first. Ariel, when we contacted you first, you were in a bunker. Could you just tell us what the situation is around you right now before we get into the analysis?
Yes, well, I went down. We had sirens. I have 3 children under the age of 3, so we have a big family here. We went down to the shelter underground here because I live in an old building, so we don't have shelters on in each apartment like the newer ones have. We're down with the kids. We heard about, I would say, 12 to 13 explosions. One missile fell. I'm not allowed to give the exact location, I think, but not too far from here. I don't think anyone was injured there, but there was a lot of damage. I've been getting some photos. I've passed it on to you guys. People don't talk a lot about the fact that going down to bomb shelters with little kids, they ask questions, 3-year-olds, what's happening? Why are all these explosions happening? It's not a good situation to raise kids in, but I think most Israelis are pretty happy with what happened tonight and pretty happy in general with the way the war has been going. Even though we've had all these bombs and sirens and everything, I think it's pretty surprising the weak response of the Iranians. When this started, I asked the senior military official here, what is the expectation between you and me? Because we don't want to get people scared. And they said, we think there'll be hundreds of people dead within the next few days in Israel. I mean, every life is a big thing, but 20 odd or so people that have died, a few dozen more injured, a few buildings knocked down. Your reporter said about the port of Haifa, which is true, but the damage has been pretty mild considered what was expected. And I would just say you spoke a little bit about World War III. I think these attacks have been to show that it's not worth it to go to World War III. No one is going to stand up for the Iranians at this point. None of their Arab neighbors are going to stand up for them. None of their Gulf states. The Russians seem to be, yesterday President Putin said he doesn't want to help the Iranians too much because a lot of Russian speakers in Israel. So he found a good reason not to join in. The Chinese don't seem to want to help out. So I don't think we're getting closer to World War III. On the contrary, I think the more the Israelis and Americans have successful strikes in Iran, the more Iran's allies want to step back and say, okay, we don't want to get into this. It's too much for us. And the Iranians are all by themselves right now.
All I can say is it's a difficult time to bring up kids in a war zone. It can never be easy. So I just hope your family is safe and will remain safe. But my own sense is that Iran will not stop here, just like the US and Israel will not stop here. Let's see how this progresses. Matt Klink is joining us on the broadcast. He's a Republican strategist. Matt Klink, the obvious question that is being asked this morning is, why did the US decide to enter the Israel-Iran war? Given the fact that Mr. Trump's own supporters were not very happy with the country entering what they have called long, endless, never-ending wars.
Well, I think that that's not quite an accurate statement, first. I think that the decision that Donald Trump made tonight, and he has been clear on this since 2011, is that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And I do think what you saw tonight were strategic military strikes that only one army in the world could carry out, and that's the United States of America. And I will say that I'm looking at the bomb damage that you're showing in Israel right now. This just shows you the cowardly efforts by the Iranians that they are unable to target Israeli military targets. So they're targeting civilian population centers. And I know that Iran is right now they have They have been embarrassed on the world stage. They have taken a severe blow to their main bargaining chip in all of this. And I know that their military has already come out and they said, we're going to attack U.S. bases in Saudi Arabia. We're going to close the Straits of Hormuz, where 25% of the world's oil flows through. If they are foolish enough to take those actions, it's a very easy connection to see, okay, next the Americans and the Israelis start taking out Iran's oil infrastructure. We take out their energy infrastructure. Before you know it, I mean, again, we're still not targeting population centers, which is a completely cowardly act, which the Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis did after the October 7th attacks. So clearly this is part of their playbook. Donald Trump, what he did tonight, he met the moment. He did the world a big favor. And if these attacks were as successful as we think that they are, the world will breathe a sigh of relief, because it will knock the Iranian theocracy back on its heels, hopefully for another decade.
There is NASA data that is picking up heat signatures near the 3 nuclear sites that have been struck by the United States of America. So there is confirmation on that. The Iranian regime, of course, downplaying the nature of attack and the damage. Give me a moment here. There is a piece of breaking news coming in. We are now getting an official response from the Iranian foreign minister, who has warned the United States and said that strikes will have everlasting consequences and that Tehran reserves all options to retaliate. So this is far from over, Matt. This is just about beginning. Can I make a counter argument here? And I know you don't have, we just have 15 minutes with you, so I'm going to request our other guests to have some patience with us. Matt, the counter argument to this is that Tulsi Gabbard, your own intelligence chief, has said that Iran was still 3 years away from acquiring or making a nuclear weapon, right? Why was that overruled?
It wasn't overlooked. She has subsequently corrected that and said that the data that she was using was old. The overwhelming majority of the data put out not only by the Americans, but by the Israelis, by the Germans, by a number of our other allies, said that Iran was very close to break out on a nuclear bomb. And that is something that is not going to be, we couldn't allow it to happen. Especially when the IAEA came in and said that they were not able to accurately inspect Iranian sites. And then the Ayatollah then came out, I think the next day, and said that Iran was going to step up to use the next generation of centrifuges to generate more nuclear material. So again, this is not an American issue. This is Iran being a bad player on the world stage, and America acting decisively for our most reliable Middle East ally, supporting Israel and doing the world a favor by taking out Iran's nuclear capabilities. One hope, double fingers crossed.
Okay. Matt, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate your time here on the Times Network. The fact also is, ladies and gentlemen, irrespective of what Matt is saying, there is growing criticism for what the United States has done this morning, officially entering the Iran-Israel war. Let me go across to Pratibha, who is getting us what people are saying in the United States of America. Go ahead, Pratibha.
Absolutely. So there have been reports that Iran had as much as 166 kgs of uranium enriched, up to 60%, which is very, very close to 90% that is required to make it nuclear ready. So let's talk about some of the criticism that United States has received as well. Nancy Pelosi, the U.S. Speaker, saying the operation endangers American lives, that the United States did not have to enter this conflict between Iran and Israel, saying the risks are further escalation as well as destabilization in the region, and this is not something that the United States should have done. In fact, Ken Martin, Democratic Party chair, has also said Americans do not want this. This is not what they voted for, saying we don't want to risk the safety of our troops, because now remember, Iran and even Yemen have now said that the American troops are also going to be on target, going on to say they are pulling us towards war without approval, that this is not what the people of United States wanted. Remember, this is also in contrast to what the US President Donald Trump himself had said during the campaigning, because this now puts the American military in active combat in the Middle East. Now, Elizabeth Warren has also said this is bombing of Iran, which is unconstitutional, not what the people of the United States wanted. The US Senator going on to say this is a horrific war of choice, the choice that the United States has taken to enter the country into this conflict. In fact, we also have other leaders who are saying it's a disastrous decision. So within the United States as well, not much support coming in for the action that has been taken by Donald Trump.
Thanks for that, Pratibha. Do stay on with us. This is news just about coming in. Rapid updates, as I said, on the situation. Now, we are being told that those present in the White House Situation Room who were monitoring the Iran mission included, of course, President Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, the chairperson of the Joint Chief Committee, that is General Dan Kane, and the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, as well. CIA Director John Ratcliffe was there in the room, in the Situation Room. The National Security Advisor and the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, all present. The White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, the Deputy Chief of Staff, Dan Scavino, and James Blair, all present there. So was the Press Secretary, the NSC, that is Andy Baker, and the White House Counsel, David Warrington. The Special Envoy, Steve Witkoff, was present in the Situation Room as well. Which essentially means that the entire top brass of the United States of America's military infrastructure was present in the Situation Room. We are getting regular updates. Do stay on with us. I'm going to request our guests to stay on with us as well. For the moment, a very quick break. We'll be back with much more. Iran. Following Iran's launch of ballistic missiles towards Israel. This essentially then is a retaliation, they say. The IDF has claimed that the Israeli Air Force has struck several ballistic missile launchers and eliminated many Iranian soldiers. The number yet unknown. My guests continue to join me. Pratikit, you're there with us. Ariel, thank you very much. Burzine, Wagmar, thank you very much for your patience. We'll be joined by General Hasnain in just a bit as well. Burzine, Wagmar, can I come to you here? This was expected, right? An escalation was expected if the United States of America puts itself in the heart of the Israel-Iran conflict. And we are seeing that escalation now play out. Iran striking at Israel, Israel striking back at Iran. I want to ask you, Burzine, where you think this will end, given the fact that Iran is up against two major powers, the United States of America and Israel. What options do you have, really?
The regime doesn't have very many options at present as we speak. What matters now is a question of survival, sheer survival 46 years on of a regime that has been repressive, discredited, and is utterly stands exposed as a paper tiger in the eyes of its own citizenry. It also leads one to query aloud over the last 8 days these spectacular attacks that show how Israeli intelligence has penetrated Iran to the very core of its senior chain of commands, and Iran's abysmal intelligence agencies who have been able to do nothing about the fact, including downright drone launchers located within Iranian territory that have been creating havoc, never mind launches from airspace outside as such. So what could occur is, well, the question is of capitulation, regime collapse, or complete annihilation of defiance. It could play out any one of these ways, with Khamenei most probably trying to aim for survival, and also with the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guards, and the Iranian Armed Forces, and other economic foundations, the boneyards, who have much as stakeholders to keep the system going for what it's worth. But they may not be so in case it unravels and we see fissures within the higher orders. Nothing of the sort has occurred as we speak, but it could play out as such. And for the part just now, what must be realized that America has gone for maximum strength, so much for maximum pressure which was applied hitherto, which has now transformed into maximum strength and peace with strength. And President Trump's address to the nation at 10 p.m. Eastern Time last evening also goes to iterate that we will continue if Iran does not toe the line. And just prior to these attacks, the Geneva talks also failed when the European Union tried to prevail upon Foreign Minister Arakci to come to some reasonable assessment and surmise that Iran should release all foreign prisoners. It should open up its inspection sites. It should open up also its ballistic missile sites, which were never part of the JCPOA 2015 agreement and which was part of a lot of problems. And President Trump was absolutely right to pull out of it back in 2018 when he did so, because it had left the regime enough space to continue with its program of ballistic missiles, which would create havoc not just for Israel, which indeed it is as we speak, but also was a Damoclean sword over all its Arab neighbors, and was something of an impetus to its regional proxies to create havoc across the region, which has been occurring. Finally, insofar as these proxies are concerned, the Houthis will try to bolster some asymmetric, spectacular attacks. They can't do much more than that. Hezbollah is still seething down and out in Lebanon and hopping mad with Tehran that it never came to its aid in the first place last year. Iraq is practically not much to say except for a few Shia outfits who may support the regime as such. And that leaves us with Syria's Assad, who's gone on the ash heap of history. And what will happen now is that Putin has also lost Iran as a so-called ally of the axis of resistance alongside Syria. So this should be a blow to Putin as well.
Burzine, do stay on with us. As I said, we are officially now hearing from the IDF, from Israel. Pratibha, could you quickly take us through what they're saying?
So, important update from the IDF that has said in the morning we saw how Iran had launched missiles on Israel, after which the IDF says the Air Force has now begun a wave of attacks against military targets in western Iran. In addition, this morning, Air Force attacked missile launchers in Iran ready to be launched towards the territory of the State of Israel. Soldiers in the Iranian military forces and closed the circle and destroyed launchers that had launched towards the territory of the State of Israel a short time ago. So Israel has now responded after the counter strikes of Iran.
Thank you very much, General Hasnain, joining us on the broadcast. Pratikit is here and Shrunjoy has joined us in the studio as well. Shrunjoy, thank you for coming in. General Hasnain, can I just start with you? We are seeing what has happened early Sunday morning. There are many who are calling this a momentous moment for the Middle East, for the world, but then there are many saying this is a momentous gamble as well. You know, what's your analysis of what is happening in Iran, Israel, plus the US entering the war now?
Thank you, Shreya. Thank you for inviting me for your program. And yes, this is I2US war, Israel, Iran, United States, all three mixed in today. Early to say anything at the moment because we still don't have a damage assessment of what has actually happened with those three bombs that the United States has used. We've seen photographs of the evacuation of Fordow and places like that, but we don't know what exactly has been the impact. But having said that, since 2003, that's the time when I started following this whole narrative of the Iranian nuclear capability. From 2003 and before that, from 1992, I was following the entire acquisition of ballistic missiles from North Korea, from Russia, etc. This is something which has been in the making for the better part of the last 33, 34 years. To say, therefore, that something is being done to actually neutralize that entire capability which has been developed in 32, 33 years, obviously means it's a very important decision which has been taken. Otherwise, all this time we were meandering between negotiations, capping the program, all kinds of things like that. And there were denials, there were allegations. But finally, it seems that the United States under Mr. Trump has taken that decision to go in. Now, does that mean that necessarily Iran will cave in? Well, yes, Iran does not probably have the military capability to resist the United States, the capability of the United States and Israel put together. But this kind of a situation that we are seeing at the moment can continue for some more time. There is no doubt about it. And the suffering of people in the Middle East will also continue, and possibly the economic impact and other political impact of all that is happening is going to be immense on the whole world.
General Hasnain, then what you're telling us is that this is not ending anytime soon. It is only just beginning. Do you see this stretch out like the Russia-Ukraine war? We thought it will be over in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maximum a month, 2 months. And look at where we are.
I agree. That's a very good question that you have put, actually. But you see, this is one situation where you are finding Iran and Israel do not enjoy common borders. This is not about anything territorial at all. This is about capability. It's political capability, with weaponized political capability. If that has been neutralized to a great extent, obviously a level of asymmetry has been achieved. For that is why we have to wait for that final assessment to see what finally has the United States been able to achieve. But I, for one, at this moment, do not foresee the extension of this kind of a military situation extending into anything like Ukraine at all. I don't think Tehran has the capability to resist to that extent as Ukraine did, and they don't have that kind of assistance from Russia and China. Ukraine fired off the entire weapon of the whole of Europe. They had whole of NATO behind them. We thought that perhaps Russia and China would put their weight behind Iran, but obviously they have not. And therefore, under the circumstances, I don't see this going too long.
Okay, it's pretty spectacular to me that while the United States of America and Donald Trump were actually planning this barrage of attacks on Iran, he was there in front of cameras demanding a Nobel Prize for Peace of all things. Some latest information coming in. Let's quickly get you that. Amir Said Iranvi, he's the permanent representative of Iran to the United Nations, has now issued a letter castigating President Donald Trump's airstrikes on 3 key nuclear facilities in the Islamic Republic of Iran. Now, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and I'm quoting from the letter now, condemns and denounces in the strongest possible terms these unprovoked and premeditated acts of aggression. In fact, the Islamic Republic of Iran urgently requests the Security Council to convene an emergency meeting without delay to address this blatant and unlawful act of aggression, to condemn it in the strongest possible terms and take all necessary measures under its charter mandated responsibilities, that the perpetrators of such heinous crimes is fully held accountable and does not go unpunished. Pratik Pine, would you want to come in here? This is Iran asking for help, but look at who they're asking for help from, the United Nations, which in any case, many people believe across the world is a toothless body.
Shreya, first of all, I just wonder if Pakistan wants to stick with their advocacy for a Nobel Prize for Trump or not as of today.
That's a good point.
But yes, but on a larger context, look at it this way. See, this was inevitable. The reason is this. Once Israel took the decision that they want to get inside Iran and strike, that would not have been a decision alone of Israel. It had a tacit approval from Washington. But Israel does have a limitation of capacity. You cannot use a GBU-57 15-ton, bomb on a F-35 or an F-16. You need a B-2 bomber for that, which Israel doesn't have. Now, once they have decided that we want to, defang the nuclear capacity of Iran, if the Americans had not done what they did today, the other option for Israel was, to use the Jericho ballistic or hypersonic missiles armed with a tactical nuclear warhead, given the scenario for taking down Fordow, which would have far more sinister consequence so far as the Middle East is concerned. Now, what happens from here is this. I don't think beyond the token condemnation, which UN is very good at, nobody will do anything. The biggest frustration for Iran is this, that they actually tried to galvanize the whole Islamic world into one. They thought that the Arab states will rise in their favor. Nothing of that sort is happening, because the aerial refueling, which is happening on the Arab airspace, the interception of the missiles coming towards Israel, they're all happening on the Arab airspace, which means there are a lot of subterfuges in this conflict. The Arab states equally do not want, the Iran to have a nuclear weapon, and I think they don't mind if the Iranians are cut down to size. They don't want, extermination or annihilation of the civilians. Now, the problem is this: the war does not get over for Israel, neither the war gets over for Iran. For Iran, the problem is this. You know, Iran's Iron Dome was Hezbollah, which has been cut down by Israel. So they had no other option but to go to the next level. The issue is this: what happens next? For regimes like the one which you have in Iran, good or bad, that's another issue. They live with an aura of invincibility. So now it is the compulsion of the Iranian regime to do something spectacular to show to the world, to at least to their own audience, look, I cannot be bogged down by the Americans. Now that means either an attack somewhere else, or the Strait of Hormuz blocking, or the worst fear of the Iranians, Israelis and the Americans, which is a dirty bomb, which probably will be more extreme. But world war, I don't think right now is going to happen. But next, what happens depends upon the Iranians. If they say, look, I've already taken over my arsenal somewhere else, it is all safe, nothing happens, that means they want to take one step back. So that decision is up to them.
Okay, Pratik, there are some questions on radiation leaks as well, some concerns there. I'll go to Srinjoy on that in just a bit. But just to recap for our viewers what has happened in the last couple of hours. These are the top 10 developments on the biggest story of the day, ladies and gentlemen. There's been a fresh wave of airstrikes by Israel. Iranian media is now reporting that explosions have been heard in Tabriz. The IDF, on the other hand, meanwhile, is saying that Iran's military assets have been struck. Iran, as we've just reported, has called for an urgent meeting of the United Nations Security Council. Iranian missiles have been intercepted over Jordan as well. Why Jordan, ladies and gentlemen? Because right in the middle of Iran and Israel is Jordan. Sirens have gone off there as well. We are also hearing once again from the IDF. IDF is saying that Iran's military assets have been attacked. The nuclear watchdog, meanwhile, that's the IAEA, is saying that there has been no increase in radiation. That is something that was something that is causing a worry across the world. But the IAEA for the moment is saying they are seeing no increase in radiation in the 3 nuclear sites that have been targeted deep inside Iran. Iran, meanwhile, is claiming that it has executed a quote-unquote Mossad agent. He's been hung to death for spying for Israel. Iran is claiming there has been no nuclear contamination. Yemen, of course, has jumped in as well, a close ally of Iran. They are threatening an attack on the US Navy. Shinja, would you very quickly want to come into this entire nuclear radiation angle? There were some concerns, but the IAEA is dousing those concerns and saying nothing so far.
The Americans would have wargamed this, and the Americans would have practiced this also, probably in some mountain thing. But so far, IAEA has said that there is no radiation. Very good. But we don't know what will happen in the future. We don't know how close IAEA was to the 3 sites. But this is a fear because there is a possibility of leakage now that 3 nuclear sites have been attacked. And that is something that will worry every country in the neighborhood. So that is something we have to watch out for, because while IAEA has said, yes, there is no contamination, we don't know what it will lead to, what's going to happen again. Also, at this point, IAEA has said no nuclear contamination.
Sure.
But we could see a different result tomorrow.
We'll wait and watch. For the moment, the IAEA is saying no radiation.
Very reassuring.
Iran is saying as well that the United States of America and its strikes have not caused any nuclear contamination. So for the moment, that is where the story stands. Ladies and gentlemen, a quick break. I'll be back with much more. Do stay with us.
वेलकम दादा बेटा ख्याल रखोगे ना हमारा